Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great viewer question. And that is how to understand, how do you comprehend where you're at in the healing journey? How can you take a gauge and kind of sense where you're at when it comes to learning and applying the tools that we discuss here on the channel? And so I'm going to help and give you some support on these so you can help to really amp up your progress in this area. But before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your contributions and your support. It is really viewers like you who step up to the plate and let me know that this is valuable of content that really helped me to keep inspired. So thank you so much for your donations, and absolutely positively, if this channel has been a positive resource or positive influence, please do feel free to donate at the PayPal Donate Now button here on the About page at the Peace and Harmony channel. We would love to hear from you. So we're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in terms of how do you understand, how do you kind of know if you're healing? How do you know if you've really set forth on the positive orderly direction path versus the NOD path, the negative orderly direction path, what I call NOD thinking, which means sort of staying stuck in the pattern of perceiving yourself as a victim, staying stuck in the pattern of, of being in the low self-esteem vibration, staying stuck in creating the same behaviors, thoughts, and choices that are not serving you versus going the other direction, what I call positive orderly direction or pod thinking, behaving, feeling, and becoming, where you're becoming aware. You're becoming aware of the fact that there are manipulators, people who are bossy, people who are always trying to one-up you, people who are not entering into an interaction in order to have a sort of a give and take, but who are trying to control and manipulate the outcome so that you will then feel less than, feel powerless to. Where you'll be giving them the upstage. You'll be giving them the position of power and control that people who are perhaps narcissistic, malignant narcissistic, or psychopathic, the position that they seek to obtain and maintain in relationships in order to keep the upper hand. So manipulators, it is to understand that those people who are manipulative, they're always going to try to get into your operating system. They're going to try to control the outcome of events. They're, especially as it relates to them being perceived and interacted with in a specific way that benefits them and does not benefit you. So there's a healthy flow, a give and take, a law of reciprocity that typifies and exemplifies healthy relationships where there's a flow, a give and take, a value for value. So that typifies healthy relationships. Now, manipulators, otherwise known as opportunists, malignant narcissistic, psychopathic individuals, people who are covert narcissistic. So there's going to be a degree of control and manipulation that these individuals seek to obtain, which is usually and almost always an overcompensation for a feeling of insecurity that they have. So it's a false persona. It's a false mask. It is a fakeness with which they'll present to the world, which is not genuine, which it is putting on in order to make others see them as one way with which they are not. So seeing them as the boss when they were not the boss, seeing them as the talented one when they're perhaps not all that, perceiving them as more important than you when they are not more important than you, having them perceive like they are the authority or taking advantage of specific titles when they are not. You know, it's the old adage, Why? Because I said so. Why? Because I'm your father. Why? Because I'm your mother. So because I'm this, you should blindly, follow. And so, for example, if you have a parent who's physically abusing you, emotionally manipulating of you, neglectful of you, and they're asking you to just take the abuse, and you then confront them, why? Because I said so. Why? Because I'm your mother. It's that's setting up a cycle of abuse or a cycle of manipulation. And so, in other words, you're not allowed to question authority. You're not allowed to question your abuser. You're not allowed to question the thought process. You're not allowed to question the fact that you are, feeling less powerless than. So, a malignant narcissist, so they will perpetuate that feeling of supply. In other words, where they're always going to back you down. They're going to try to keep you in a non-responsive state where you're acting out of responsibility or, protection of yourself. They're going to keep you in a reactive state where you're reacting out of fear. You're having to react out of impulse. You're having to basically default to them or defer to them, meaning you're going to acquiesce or give into their position or their manipulation of power and control. Power and control. Having one over you. So not allowing you to process, consider for yourself what is best for you, and then agree and then be responsive, which is typified by boundaries and standards. Yes, I know that there is a lot on this. That is why we go so in depth. In fact, there's so many facets to this that I want you to really understand all the working mechanisms, all the gears, like a clock. There's so many different gears going that are part of this operating system and how people get manipulated, and then how you stay stuck versus how you free and liberate yourself, that I really do want to go into depth, in which creates negative orderly direction thinking and behaving, NOD thinking, keeping you going backwards or keeping you stuck or blocked, versus liberating you and helping you go and enter into positive orderly direction thinking, behaving, and feeling, which I call POD thinking. And then along the way, there's all the tools we discuss here, including the recovery journal, the recovery date, the astralmations, the tools to help you to question, your feeling states, to help you understand what it is and to learn about what manipulation is. So it's to understand that, to see where you're at, is to understand really how, I would say a huge element of it is to understand when and how you are being manipulated. So when we look especially at those people who are malignant, narcissistic, or who are psychopathic, they're going to try to get into your subconscious mind in a way that causes you to doubt yourself, to gaslight you, and to make you then question yourself in your own natural process, and get you to feel ineffective and feel a sense of low self-esteem, especially that of self-doubt, as well as fear. Oftentimes, all these wrapped into one, which creates a very powerful manipulation tool. So that of self-doubt, that of low self-esteem, and that of fear. So fear, self-doubt, and lack of self-esteem. So making you feel inadequate. So this can be all wrapped into one when they get you to question your own autonomic processes. In other words, it's like asking you, are you breathing okay? Did you didn't forget to tie your shoes, did you? Because you're going to trip over them and you're going to fall and you're going to skin your face, and then we're going to have to not have a fun weekend. We're going to have to take you to the emergency room. I mean, it's this insinuation. It is the tone, as well as the physical, nonverbal communication, which is insultory and derogatory of such, which creates this effect. So, for example, did you lock the door? Did you forget to lock the door when you've locked the door for 50 years? You know, it's these type of statements which are getting you to question, doubt yourself, and then trigger fear. I'm not adequate, you know, da 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 da. I'm not a good person. I didn't protect the house. All those sort of insinuations. So they get into your operating system. Or likewise, if you're a child, you know, why are you so needy? You know, you're so clingy. You're so da 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 when you need your parent. They're acting you as, you know, they're treating you or insinuating as if there's something wrong with you for needing parental guidance. There's something wrong for you for needing parental love. There's something wrong with you for needing love, trust, and honesty. There's something wrong with you for questioning, you know, why your spouse is late consistently every Friday night. There's something wrong with you for wanting your spouse to treat with you with respect and not objectification. So there's this insinuation of fear, obligation, and guilt, the fog mindset, which then gets into your operating system, which causes you to have an unhealthy sense of dependence or judgment of yourself based on this individual and their assessment and their judgment of you, which is not how life should be. You should not interpret your own sense of self-love based on the reaction of somebody else. You should have this internally. And whether you do or not, there's always a question of amount or percentage, you know, especially depending on your sense of experience. But yet it is the manipulator, the abuser, which gets you to doubt this, especially in midlife, when you should have, you know, be operating by positive self-esteem. If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're struggling with this, it lets you know that this person has, you know, basically gotten into your operating system where they don't belong. They've caused you to doubt, question, fear, obligation, and guilt. Have that fog, especially as it relates to your own self-esteem and your own judgment of self and your own behaviors. So this is how they get in. It's so important to understand that this is where they then get you. Oh, yes, I did lock the door. Oh, yes, I did tie my shoes. Oh, yes, I did breathe right. You know, where you acquiesce and then you take the bait. It's these little tiny things that basically accumulate over time, which creates and allows for them to have the upper hand. You didn't forget to get this at the store, did you? No, I've been getting this for 20 years. You know, it's, yes, I did, and telling you what to do. So especially the manipulator, it's so very obvious. It's so very simple, yet it becomes so chronic that we don't realize it's happening. So another key indicator to see if, you know, you're still stuck in the path of manipulation is you're still allowing this manipulator, this malignant narcissist, this psychopath, are they still telling you what to do? Are they still telling you what to do? Are they bossy? You know, why don't you go ahead and put away the bread? You know, I'm 30 years old. I can put away the bread in my own house when, you know, I'm capable of when I can put away my groceries. So it's these little things that you're already capable of that they insinuate that you're not capable as of yet. And so this is where it creates that perpetual, what people might call grating against your nerves or nagging behavior. So it's this chronic manipulation. And then, oh, you really are just such a good-looking spouse, aren't you? So it's this sort of insinuating of sarcasm, or these sort of what you would call gratuitous sexual advances, where, oh, you know, I've always wanted to give this to you in life, you know, and yet they're kind of repeating the same thing that you've genuinely stated, but they're stating it either in an alcoholic stupor or out of gratuitous, you know, sarcasm. And, you know, they're telling you these things and you know it is not genuine. So it's the people who are bossy. They're telling you what to do and you know what to do. Well, you better get to work on time. Well, I've been getting to work on time for the past 30 years. It's these people who, you know, are creating a space of need for you when there isn't a need. So, you know, yet, this as the cause has created this effect. It's part of the manipulator. Now, you might need, a positive sounding board. You might need this before you're able to be a positive sounding board for yourself. So like when you're a child, I need to stop my brother from beating me up. I need to stop a kid at school, and so you need to go to the parent and you need to learn how to protect yourself, how to set boundaries, how to set standards, who to talk to. So there's a natural learning curve. So it's really like these learning curves, which could have, or should have been set up, we can say it either way, which are set up early in life, which give us repeated opportunities, perhaps in more intensity, on how to protect yourself. Again, I repeat, boundaries and standards. So, and it's the learning of such, how to identify, which means you need to get into the observer standpoint, which is when you begin to heal. You begin to detach from the relationship, i.e. not need it, i.e. not require it, not need them, when you'll be able to detach and then be able to think and feel and decide for yourself and then respond accordingly, which is when you begin to enter the true healing and you get into that metacognition. You're not in the fear state and you're out of the fear state and you be able